Ladies and gentlemen, greetings citizens all over the world. This may possibly be the most important video you're ever going to watch, no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you choose to believe in. I think it's about time you pull your head in and sit down and listen very carefully. You want to debunk me or discredit me? Remember, that's your decision. And remember something very carefully. The devil possesses the mind. Okay, you may not believe that. That's entirely up to you. You're welcome to believe whatever you want. I'm telling you right now, the devil possesses the mind. The way that you think and judge, and the voice in your mind whenever you think critically with a high IQ, you think you're talking to yourself, but you're not. You convey feelings to thoughts and explain things to yourself in your own biological language when you sit down and think critically with a high IQ. When you try and work out something, a voice is always there to argue with you. Right? And it sounds like heavenly. It sounds like yourself. And you do believe you're talking to yourself, but you convey feelings to thoughts. Your body cells receive information from two outside influences on your reality. Positive and negative feels. End the story. See it for how it is. They call it yin and yang. And whatever voice you feed, okay, whatever wolf you feed. So the first thing you need to get right around here is your priorities. About who you really are, why you're here, and what the meaning of life is. Do you know who you are? I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you know who you are? Or are you stuck in a reincarnation trap? Because everybody is. You may not believe that. You're welcome to believe what you like. Most people in the world today is going to wish they were dead for 1,000 years. Okay, I'm just here to give you information. What you choose to do with it, it's entirely up to you. Your responsibility is not my problem. What you choose to do with the information I give you is not my problem. It's your own problem, whatever mindset you're in. Now, in this video, I'm going to be very firm. Okay? I'm going to be very firm about every word that comes out of my mouth because I have to be. Most of you out there behave like 15-year-old children. And you use every inverted tool that you're programmed into and engineered into. Selfish, egotistical, judgmental, and competitive behavior. Far left, far right. I'm better than everyone. Putting yourself on a pedestal with a high IQ. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Where's your moral values at? Where is your loyalty, honor, respect, moral, remorse, inspiration, and encouragement? How come you don't live on those tools alone? How come you live on every other inverted tool to justify your action, what you believe in? 99% of you run around accusing people what you're guilty of. Non-stop. And use the same tools to always put other people down and belittle them because you're belittling yourself. Because you don't care about yourself with any moral values in the right place. So therefore, 99% of you use exactly the same tools you're programmed into. On reverse psychology. And that's the psychology you use every day. Mentally. Where is your instinctive behavior? Where is your natural organic motor skills? Ask yourself that question. How come you don't know who you are? How come you don't have superhuman abilities compared to what you know today? Huh? Is it because you think too much? And you consume too much information? And consume too much garbage down your throat all the time? Because that would be priority one where you go wrong the most. You love greed, power, temptation, money and material things and every modern technology that's out there. With gadgets, with images. That's what you're attached to the most. Take the phone of most people, it is their best friend, no matter what comes out of their mouth. They have a bigger relationship with the phone than what they have their family, lovers and friends. It's a known fact. It's a known fact. 93% of the Western civilization takes drugs to numb themselves because they can't cope in life. They can't cope. 93% of the whole Western civilization takes one kind of drug or another because they cannot cope. So when people can't cope and mental disorders and defects are going through the roof and accelerating 7 times faster, that's the first thing you need to understand. Negativity spreads like a virus and affects all of us. And we're living in it. More negativity than ever created in human history. No matter what bubble you live in, what comfort zone you live in, or what truth you believe in. Because most of you live in your own truth in your own little bubble. That's the first thing you've got to wake up to if you want to wake up. Think outside the mind and stop thinking with the mind. You might get somewhere. Now, you know, I can come across here really nice and butter things up with chocolates and roses, but I'm not going to. Because that's not how you get through someone's thick skull when they think with the skull all the time. Reality is reality. And most people are not living in it. The Looking Glass program, the Looking Glass project, they saw the future, they know the future. Many whistleblowers all over the world has also described this. So maybe you should pull your head in and start paying attention, because no one is putting the right pieces together for you. Everybody out there is limited with information, even the whistleblowers from all over the world. I want you to consider something, right? I want you to revise your perception completely about everything you know and everything you think you know. Because believe me, you don't know. You just think you do. Being in the knowing is completely different than believing with a high IQ that only makes you good at what you do, but in fact not intelligent. 99% of you think you're highly intelligent today because you use the same tools that are inverted with 5 senses and negative fields, but it's not positive because it's not your 6th sense. Your natural organic motor skills is to think instinctively, not think psychologically and mentally, because that's what oppresses you and limits you to be who you are today. And you don't even know who you are. You don't even know. You've got no idea who you are. You think you do, but you have no idea. You're stuck in a reincarnation trap. That's why you don't know and you're all lost. That's why this is very important to you, whether you like it or not. Now, I'm going to give you some very dramatic details. And if you don't take them in, that's your problem, not mine. Now, Plato's the greatest philosopher of all time, hailed by every top scholar in the world to be the greatest philosopher, and every philosopher ever since has only been footnotes of Plato. Plato wrote many books with a lot of information that's being suppressed from you as well. And that's the first thing you need to understand about life. Enoch wrote 300 books. You only know about 2 of them. 300 books that are known as the canons of the Bible is removed. That's a lot of information removed about the beginning. And also about 5 previous civilizations. 5 previous civilizations that all went into massive extinction, stripped from their 6th sense. And this is the 6th mass extinction where you strip from your 6th sense. And this is the 6th time that you keep following your forefathers' footsteps. So right now, you have to pay attention to this very carefully. This is the 6th time that the Western civilizations use modern technology, the AI world, and all the things they're programmed into to be stripped from their 6th sense by using the 5 senses with a high IQ in the 6th mass extinction. That's the first thing you've got to pay attention to. The first thing you have to pay attention to is that you don't know much about life when you've had 5 resets. And you're about to face another reset for the same reason. Stop and consider the circumstances for a moment. Stop and consider the circumstances for a moment. Now, when we go back before the days of Babylon, okay, we know Noah lived for 950 years, and everybody around that category lived to be around the same age, 700 to 1,000 years old. Now, that is at the end when Babylon went down with the Great Flood. That is at the end. When you go back further in time, we live to be a lot older than that. There's a mentalist more than 2,000 years old. There's a mentalist over 2,000 years old involved in this, in those days. His name's very suppressed and oppressed as well. A very special character who's a mentalist. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start like this. Plato describes what we call the Gnostics. If you go to the Bible, any Bible in the world, okay, the first thing God created was a matrix system. It's called the Gnostic web of blue and red. the tangled web that you're in today. Okay? You're tangled in a web with confusion and frustration, and you do not know who you are. The tangled web of blue and red is yin and yang. One cannot exist without the other. You have the divine power of creation and destruction with two outside influences on your reality. It's whatever wolf you feed. Now, you have to listen very carefully. Very, very carefully. Enoch was a gnostic. And the prophets throughout the Bible were gnostics. Jesus himself was a gnostic. These people mastered their mind. Okay? They did not allow the mind to master them. They were specially designed masterminds, each and every one of them. Now, if we go back over 5,500 years ago, we all had these tools. This is where you have to pay attention very carefully. Before 5,500 years ago, each and every person on earth had these tools to be a gnostic mastermind and to escape the reincarnation trap. Okay, to break free from amnesia so everybody knew who they were, and then they lived to be over 1,000 years old because they break free from the death experience. They break free from the death experience and used to get very tall with superhuman abilities compared to anything we understand today. But what happens is we get programmed at school, right, invertedly, and then by the time we're 20, we shrink and we go into slow death by the time we're 80. With a high IQ and think we're intelligent on 5 senses of negative fears, but that's what negative fears does. They make you suffer from the human conditioning. Stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, paranoia, and stress-related disease is what kills 93% of people every day. In every research done, because their body cells go in corruption, corrosion, collusion with even 5 senses in negative fears with a high IQ, to think they're intelligent. And that's exactly what happens with the inverted civilization. That's why you must pay undivided attention. Now, in Babylon, okay, we had Freemasons. Freemasons knew how to use certain tools, but it's important you understand something very carefully, who Freemasons really are. Okay, so what we're going to say it like this. You have 200 fallen angels. You can call them aliens, you can call them whatever you like. They could not get back out of here. Okay, they're stuck on this planet from the 5th dimension downwards. They run this world. Okay, there are 200 frequencies with a personality. 200 different frequencies with a personality. Principality and power in the air. So when you convey feelings to thoughts and negative feels, the voice comes into your mind, ultimately designed for human extinction, and you think you're talking to yourself. And they're from the lower frequencies because you live in lower frequencies on 5 senses with a high IQ. So the voice in your mind is ultimately designed for human extinction as declared by Jeremy Griffiths, the top bowlers in the world today. That means Satan exists from those entities, right? From negative fears when you think too much. That's now an evidence by the top bowlers in the whole world who first discovered the cure of the human condition humanity for 5,500 years. That's the first thing you need to pay attention to when you suffer the human condition, and then pretend you don't, because you live in brain-locked denial. And when you live in brain-locked denial, you're beyond the point of return. That means you're possessed by the devil and the voice in your mind, and you can't think outside the mind. You think you're something special. So just consider that for a moment and understand you don't even know who you are, and you cannot create the superhuman abilities that I can. Okay? In fact, you'd rather debunk it and discredit and use all the inverted tools to belittle me and tell people I'm on meth or drugs or something like that, because that's the tools you choose to use, because that's a voice in your mind that controls you that way to suppress you and make you completely inverted and follow the devil, right? You follow your forefathers' footsteps. That's what you do. You follow your forefathers' footsteps when you behave with any of these inverted tools. You're not following your father's footsteps. You're following your forefathers' footsteps. Do you understand what I'm saying? Probably not, because you're inverted. So I'm here to tell you some very stern warnings about this. Very stern. There's a very few people in the world that are gnostic masterminds. And that's what you have to pay attention to. The elect is the gnostic masterminds. That's recorded in Plato's books and the oldest books in the world that are removed from the Bible. A gnostic mastermind is a person who knows the matrix system and what the tangled web is and how to master it. How to master those tools. The divine power of creation and destruction. And there are two different types of people here. that uses those tools. So it's important you understand that very carefully. First of all, we have a whole civilization, that's us, that used to live to be over 1,000 years old and do superhuman abilities compared to anything we understand today. Today we die by 80 years old in most places in the world, right? Because we completely invert it and we don't care, right? We program ourselves to believe we're going to die by the time we're around 80, right the minute we go to school, right? Completely inverted to believe in this. That's what inversion is. So it's very important you understand something, that 99% is going to die by the time you're 80 because of the mindset you live in. No other reason. Stress-related disease is going to kill you and take you there slowly, one way or the other, because you let it do that. You choose to believe in every single thing you're told. So that's the first thing you have to understand, right? You're not escaping this. You've got a million chains wrapped around you that controls your fear, stress, and anxiety non-stop. And you can't escape it because you're stuck in a reincarnation trap. And you know why? Because faith is the only key. Your instinctive behavior, to think instinctively, is your natural organic motor skills. And that's to think outside your mind with the most positive feels as an optimistical person. And an optimistical, loving, compassionate creature uses 8 tools of righteousness: loyalty, honor, respect, moral, remorse, inspiration, encouragement. Those 8 tools of righteousness is what makes you a loving, compassionate creature. Right? Without those 8 tools of righteousness and standing on the path of righteousness with every bit of force you've got, you're nothing. You're nothing without that. You just think you are. But you can see that in your DNA alone, right? Your body starts to go in corruption, growth, collision all over the world. In every DNA test done, go and do one at the Unifed. I've gone into all the details about this. And you see that your 6 senses are completely stripped. You use 5 senses non-stop, and you can see it in DNA evidence. Most of you take drugs for one reason, because the molecules that you take drugs with creates you to think instinctively and think outside the mindset, because you can't cope in life without them. Stop and consider that for a moment. Stop and consider it for a moment and ask yourself, how many of you out there takes one kind of drug or another to cope in life because you can't cope without? There's your answer right there. Right? Whether it's a medicated drug, an illicit drug, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. Nearly every drug in the world has one particular graphene oxide serum in it. Okay? One particular molecule in nearly every drug in the world. And that drug makes you conduct to positive power and energy, or negative. Or negative. So let me explain something to you. From 0 to 7, you create 2 molecules of mentality. Graphene oxide serum to conduct with. I've gone into many details and made a lot of videos about this. What you are like from 0 to 7 when you mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7 and move 7 times faster than an adult can. Pump with adrenaline to be alert, alive, awake, and aware. With adrenochrome that gives you adrenaline, which is a meth effect. Not a brain-dead, stupid, dormant effect with dopamines or psychedelic effect. That's what you program into, to make those molecules who become stone, stupid, and dormant with a high IQ. Meth effect, silence speaks in volumes. That's where you're humble. When you pump with adrenaline, right, with guts, right, your gut feeling, survival mode, is your chakra, and the shiver in your spine. That's Jacob's ladder that makes you alert, alive, awake, and aware in your primal state to think instinctively with your natural organic motor skills, where you respond 7 times faster than anyone else on the earth can. That's programmed. That's what Keanu Reeves represents in the Matrix documentary. He thinks outside the mind with the outside influence on his reality that makes him 7 times faster than anyone else. That's programmed with a high IQ. And that's 99% of you. So you have to listen very carefully. This is a documentary by the military. They use these tools with their own people, right, in super soldiers with methamphetamine. They have done for many years, and I've gone to a lot of explanations about this. That's why Jason Shurka and Ismail Perez is now talking about disclosure with some of these people working for the military. Super soldiers that can do extraordinary things you can't do by using their instincts. You know, that's represented in a lot of the Matrix type movies or military movies like Top Gun and SAS movies, where they often say, think instinctively. Think instinctively and you can do amazing things. But you see, they don't tell you that in education, do they? They think you think psychologically with a high IQ and think critically. Yet in the army and the military, they tell you to think instinctively. Instinctively. So when you're programmed to think psychologically, and some of these people programmed to think instinctively, they can do extraordinary things you can't and live to be a lot older than you can. And I'm one of those great examples, and you don't believe in me, you throw stones at me. That's why I talk like this. People like us don't want to talk to you. You can see that with Ray, right, on Jason Sugar. We don't want to talk to you. We just want to get away from people. Because all you do is talk shit all day. Right? We can't stand being near people that uses the tools of the Freemasons, like governments and authorities. And you know what? I'm a people person. I love people. 45 years ago, I loved everybody because they were human beings. Today, I can't stand the sight of most people and listen to the bullshit that comes out of their mouth because they're completely inverted. Why do you think they said the last human beings born in 1969 back in Australia? Not in the Western civilization, because you're no longer human. You're not human anymore. You're declared in documents not to be human. Matching Revelation in post-human stage. You're told you're in post-human stage, and Revelation warned you you're in post-human stage. So you don't believe in the Bible, and you don't believe in the documents neither. So you're pretty screwed, aren't you? Because your faith system's gone, and so is your belief system. They're both gone. You live in your own bubble and your own truth. All of you do. Every one of you live in your own bubble and your own truth because you do not believe in Revelation and you do not believe in the documents from the biggest elect in the world. And I find that astonishing that you all think you know better. No, not me, I'm awake. Every person in the world says the same thing. But do you think you're a gnostic mastermind who could do superhuman abilities like Jesus could and more? Are you in that image? No, you're not. So tell me something. If you have so much to gain to be in that image, then what the fuck are you doing? Pretending and lying to everyone in the world. That's what you do. You lie like everybody else does because you're not human anymore. And you don't even want to go back to your primal state to be human again. That amazes me. That you think you're all more intelligent than what I am. It amazes me how brain dead the world is, and I put up with it every day for 3.5 years. Dysfunctional, psychological, mental behavior all over the world. Accusing me of what you're guilty of. You swines. You're nothing but spineless cowards here. Spineless, weak cowards that can't use your spine, which is Jacob's ladder. Because you'd rather debunk me, because the voice in the mind will tell you to do that, and that's why you use those tools. Because you're possessed by the fucking devil. 90% is possessed by the devil, recorded on documents. The voice in your mind told them it's time for human extinction, and 93% of Western civilization has to be declared to be beyond the point of return. Beyond the point of return. In brain-locked denial. Completely stripped from their sixth sense. Now, I know this is uncomfortable, but you've got to wake up. They saw the future in the looking glass. I've seen the future. I know the future. Do you know the future? I'm asking a very serious question. Do you know what they saw in the looking glass? Do you know what the future holds? Right? Don't lie to yourself. Do not lie to yourself with information, or he said, she said. Do you know, or do you believe you know? Big difference, you know. Because I know you don't. And I know you lie to yourself every day. Or turn a blind eye because you can't handle the truth, can't face it, can't deal with it. One of the two. Take your pick. Or you're selfish, egotistical, judgmental and competitive and think you're something special. Take your pick. You use every one of those inverted tools non-stop because you don't want to go back to your primal state. And I find that extraordinary. I find that more extraordinary that you're not open-minded and you haven't got a different perception than the one you live in. You cannot open up your mind to use your dimensional thinking. To think outside the mind with an outside influence that will change the circumstances dramatically. You don't even have faith in it or your natural organic motor skills. And I find that astonishing. I teach how to resurrect humanity back in their primal state and break free from the reincarnation trap, free from amnesia, to discover who they really are. And believe me, the liberation is unbelievable. People break into tears that do what I say, practice what I preach, and discover this. They become so emotional when they break free from the reincarnation trap. and discover who they really are, it's the most liberating, beautiful thing you could ever imagine. Once you attach yourself to the frequencies of love and the 8 tools of righteousness, it's each frequency. 8 frequencies we call the angels and watchers to watch over us. When you connect to that, you have the glory of love pouring all over you with the power. So much power, you're not afraid of nothing, and you escape the reincarnation trap, and death no longer controls you in any way, shape, or form, and then you start to live, and it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. Now listen carefully. You're coming into a new timeline with 7-fold wisdom and knowledge to live of the tree of life. And we stop living of the tree of knowledge of all things evil that everybody loves so much and can't release because they're beyond the point of return. We can see that in the DNA. In 1999, it's declared that every single person's in post-human stage and can't think naturally anymore. They think unnaturally with a high IQ, and they think 7 times more than even global history, and they consume 7 times more. 99% of people live in brain lock denial about this. No, I'm awake. They've done that for 24 fucking years. As a result, it's 5 times worse and now accelerated 7 times faster. That was declared in 2019, 20 years later. 3 months ago, it was actually confirmed. And it was confirmed by the top bowlers in the whole world and the top scholars in the whole world, even for the religions, that 93% of all Western civilization has gone beyond the point of return in brain lock denial and cannot go back to their primal state, cannot resurrect back into their instinctive behavior with their natural organic motor skills. They're gone. They're lost. And they'll go into that reincarnation trap for 1,000 years, and they're going to wish they were dead. So very few of you have got a chance here. But don't think for 1 minute you're not affected by this. For God's sake, don't think that for 1 minute. You've got so much to gain, you've got no idea. But you've got to pay attention to what's happening. When Babylon was built, okay, when they first built Babylon, Nimrod, Gilgamesh, okay, they used the tools of greed, power, temptation, money and material things and modern gadgets and modern technology, right, to get people to come into a slave environment, to come in and work with gadgets and be spoiled rotten like little brats, right? And to get spoiled rotten, right? Get spoiled rotten psychologically and mentally. So they educated people from that moment onwards on reverse psychology. Because from 0 to 7, you're a mastermind, pumped with adrenaline, alert, live, awake and aware, and you can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7 times faster than an adult can. And you've got no confusion, frustration. Then you go to school to become inverted, to use a high IQ, psychologically and mentally, right, with your 5 senses and program non-stop. 5 senses, 5 senses, 5 senses. And that's how they get you. Now, Plato describes that in Babylon, everybody in Babylon ended up suffering from the human conditioning, psychological behavior, and went into a reincarnation trap. Went into a reincarnation trap where everybody died and they never knew who they were. It only happened in Babylon. It was only happening inside Babylon in those days. People outside Babylon lived to be a lot older and weren't psychologically mental with a high IQ. They were instinctive. And to give you an idea, right, I'm just giving you an idea, one of our ancestors is a Sasquatch. The Sasquatch, right, 200 years ago was reported to still be 14, 15, 16 feet tall. Today, they're only sighted between 8 and 10. So they're shrinking now, right, because negative fields vibrates into their civilization and causes them to go into extinction as well. Every negative field slowly brings the life down of expectancy and also the size. We're the shortest assholes on the planet, right? Let me explain something to you. The Australian Aboriginals in the outback of Australia, okay, 200 years ago, okay, they were 3 to 4 meters tall, okay? There was some 5 meters tall. When we first found them, okay, when the Pommies first showed up on the shores there, I want you to listen carefully. Like a Sasquatch, they had a universal language where they convey feelings to thoughts through the atmosphere and can send a message with the oldest telegram system in the world for hundreds of kilometers by using that influence. So what happened when the English showed up on the beach, right? The Aboriginals who could not speak English convey feelings to thoughts with mental telepathy. So when you think yourself critically and a voice tells you to do it, and the other one tells you not to, and you think you're talking to yourself, Well, they became that voice with an outside influence through the body cells where they receive information with mRNA technology, which is DNA, which conveys feelings to thoughts and explain things in your own biological language. So all of a sudden, when they arrived there, the voice told them, when they always argue with themselves and the voice tells you to do it or not do it, that voice said to them, listen, get off our property, get off our land. That's what the voice told them in the mind. Their own voice, when they think they're talking to themselves, the voice said, get off our land in English, and they couldn't speak English. So they got shit scared and shot them all thinking they were demonic. Jesus had the same ability. Enoch had the same ability. All the prophets had the same ability. They all had the same ability. All Gnostic masterminds has a universal language. All Gnostic masterminds not mastered by the mind, it's not suppressed and oppressed. That's why they hate Jesus, because Jesus was different. That's why they hate the Aboriginals, the indigenous people. That's why Western civilization can't stand them, can't live by the vineyard rule equally, and can't live by two civil commandments. The kingdom is your church, and they know that perfectly, but Western civilization loves materialistic things and unnatural things. That's their forte, right? Because they're programmed into believing in everything unnatural, gets spoilt rotten like little babies and conditioned to be weak spineless cows and not use the spine anymore. We know that from Plato's books that in Babylon, the whole world became psychologically mental and got stuck in a reincarnation trap. And the Freemasons that run the world, they know how to use the tools of reincarnation. They're never stuck in a trap. However, they are stuck in the fifth dimension downwards. So therefore, they use the tools of resurrection and know who they are. And then they deceive us so that we don't know. So that we never ever know, and we can never follow our forefathers' footsteps because we don't know who we are. That's why we get programmed in schools so we can't discover that. A Gnostic mastermind learns to master his mind, and by 24, like Jesus, they discover who they are and break free from amnesia. Everybody goes to become a lone wolf and go walkabout to discover these things. That's what Jesus did. He went walkabout. So did Moses. So did Elijah. Right? So did Noah. So did Enoch. They all go walkabout in their own sovereignty like a lone wolf to discover everything about who they are and break free from amnesia. A totally different way of being brought into the world with a totally different types of education, a totally different type of wisdom and knowledge through life, through nature and all these things. A Sasquatch can run at 80 miles an hour. A Sasquatch can run for 5 hours without sweating. So can an Australian Aboriginal. They can go walk about in the mountains for 40 days without food, just like Jesus did. They can do many extraordinary things like communicate with nature, and nature feeds for them. Sasquatch has a sixth sense more powerful than anything else in the world. They come into your mind when they scream. Often people see a Sasquatch, right? And they hear this terrible scream inside their mind, like a voice that comes into their mind from another dimension. I personally had that experience with a Sasquatch myself, right? So I know that when they yell, they don't yell with a voice. They yell into your mind with the same progenic tools, right? With the outside influence in the atmosphere, they use that sixth sense like the Australian Aborigines do, right? And they come right into your mind and they scream like they're coming from a tunnel, from another dimension, inside your mind. Now, many people that's met a Sasquatch has had this experience and talks about this, that they do mental telepathy with a universal language. And they have a terrible voice that screams at you like that, so it scares the living shit out of you, but it gets you out of the way, doesn't it, without hurting you. And that's what they do. They scare the living shit out of people, so they run away when they hear that voice. But they have a sixth sense where they know human beings coming from miles away. So does the Australian Aborigines that are off the grid that lives to be 150, 160 years old. Their ancestors lived to be 500 years old not long ago, right? When you go into Google in 2019, they found a 5.3 metre skeleton in the outback of Australia. Let me tell you something. I was looking at that skeleton 22 years before, and that skeleton didn't die long ago. The reason they take all the old skeletons is because Sasquatches are the same as us. They're our ancestors. They get very hairy after 1,000 years, but they keep growing with durable bones, durable muscles in ways that we don't have. But see, they keep growing bigger and bigger and stronger every year. Because they have 1,000 years of wisdom and knowledge, by using their instincts and thinking outside the mind, they can do extraordinary things we can't. Noah, at the age of 600, built the ark with 120 feet long planks. Enoch built the pyramids by levitating the stones. You know what Moses did, and you know what Elijah did. And Jesus could bring people back to life and also resurrect himself because he beat the death experience. I can go on about these things, but you see, Plato describes the Gnostic masterminds in this world, the ones that invert it, they put everybody into psychological behavior with a high IQ with materialistic things in Babylon. To confuse the whole populations, they went into the human conditioning. And that means they were completely stripped from their sixth sense, which was their spiritual connection and their power to do all these things. So what happens is that when you come into the Pharaohs, right, there's many books written about this. The Pharaohs did the same thing with the Israelites. Put them into the same situation where they all suffered the human conditioning. When Moses took them across to the desert, out into the kingdom, where the kingdom is your church, they were scared and wanted to go back because they were psychologically mental. Right? So it's referred to that the serpent keeps biting them. The serpent's in your mind, possessed by the devil, in the skull. It's explained by John in Revelation and by Jeremy, who's the top followers in the world today, who studied Plato and the human condition for 45 years. Okay? When we discovered the cure of human condition and brought this to humanity. So I want you to understand this. He's hailed by every top scholar in the world to be the most professional man in the world who wrote the book Freedom, the Cure of the Human Condition that's going to save humanity. It's hailed by every top scholar to be the holy grail of understanding yourself biologically. To think with your intuition takes you back to this. To think outside the mind. So what you have to understand is something very specific. Right? Very specific. They saw the future. And right now you're seeing the division between good and evil all over the world. Most people are possessed by the devil. They don't know any better. They don't believe it neither. So they've gone beyond the point of return. Okay, whatever voice you listen to in your mind that guides you, God does not speak to you in a voice, ever. Right? He will deceive you, and he's deceived most people in the world who believe they're chosen in this moment by principality and power in the air, by the way they think and judge. But most people can't think instinctively, and you know how you know that? Get a body cell study done. Go and do your body cell study, right? And see if you can create it yourself with your own mind, or you need a molecule. Because I can guarantee you, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You all think you do with a high IQ, and you'll debunk and discredit me because the devil possesses you. Right? Because you think all the time, and you have a voice in your mind, your inner voice, and your inner voice is power, light, deceiving, and demonic, and will twist your mind so much you've got no idea. But if you can't do what I can do, then you're in the wrong mindset. End the story. That's not negotiable. No matter how you think about it and what you say to justify yourself. You cannot resurrect humanity, and you cannot resurrect others, and you cannot create miracles like I have. So don't lie to yourself, because I'm trying to help you with this so you can. But that's your problem. You are your own worst enemy because of the way you think and judge, and your mind will always play tricks and games on you, and you'll always be your own worst enemy because of that thing. You can't think outside the mind, so your mind possesses you and controls you and limits you. Now, in the Pharaohs, they were all psychologically mental and biting each other and attacking each other with their selfish, egotistical, judgmental and competitive behavior. Debunk, discredit, divide, far left, far right. The same attitude the whole world's got today. Immoral, unethical and incompetent decisions all over the world, like most of you use, and because you choose to do that and live in your own little bubble in your own comfort zone on social media platform and then think you're special. Your action speaks loud in words no matter what comes out of your mouth. Never forget that. Never forget that. Silence speaks in volumes, no matter what comes out of your mouth. So let me explain something to you very carefully. In the Pharaoh days, when Moses took them across the Israelites, right? The fact is there was 2 million people in psycho programs on reverse psychology. It took Moses 40 years to bring people back to think instinctively with their natural organic motor skills and find faith again. You don't know much about this because there's so much suppressed. But when they do that, to live to be 1,000 years old again. And they don't want you to know that. The Persians and the Greeks did exactly the same thing, took them into slavery again. And then we saw the human condition go through the roof again for another 300-400 years. Every single event happened for 300-400 years. Every single event. Where the whole human population went in for greed, power, temptation, money, material things, and into a bubble, right? Because they went and followed the Freemasons. And the Freemasons always used progenitor tools, which means they always knew their forefathers' footsteps and resurrect into their own children, in their own bloodlines. They know who they are, and they keep molding things and keep setting things up in this world for 5,000 years. They're called the inverted, and they invert you psychologically completely so you can't use these tools. Now, that happened with the Persians, the Greeks again, where everyone suffered the human conditioning. It got so dramatic that in the Roman days, they had to shut down Rome after they put Jesus on the cross. After they hunted down and slaughtered him and slaughtered all the disciples because they had the same superpowers they didn't want you to know. So the whole Rome shut down because 70% of the human population went mentally crazy. Mentally crazy with the same attitude they got today all over the world. Okay? Mentally crazy, and we went into the dark ages for 1,300 years, and all the Bibles went underground. All the Bibles and books and all the original books went underground. Important you understand that, because they've revised and deceived ever since. The original Bible is 2.5 inches thick. 2.5 foot thick. Okay, there's more than 400 books involved in the original Bible. There are 17 years of Jesus' life removed from the Bible of the footsteps he wanted you to follow. There are 7 disciples' books removed from the Bible of the footsteps he wanted you to follow. Everything about Enoch, who was the most favored man of God, wrapped it into the future to bring himself up as Jesus Christ to be perfect by 24, was also removed from the Bible. Because we have scholars in the world today, and biblical scholars that are inverted and works for the devil because the mind possesses them. That's why every Bible was created inside the timeline of deception for 700 years. The first Bible was printed 640 years ago. Every scholar reported, right? Every scholar report approves 80 books, but when you go to that Bible, it's only 66. So you're being lied to every day and every level, right? And oppressed so much you've got no idea. But you all think you know better, right? Trust me, you've got no fucking idea. Right? You know nothing about the previous civilizations, but the Aboriginals do. They know about all 5 catalysm events, right? From Atlantis, when you had modern technology back then with greed, power, temptation, materialistic things, the AI world and flying saucers that you all created, and underground tunnels, the same way they're done today. The military knows that. They've been using those tools all the time to deceive the whole population. That's why they lie so much, right? They've always used these tools and they know what they're doing, right? Because the Antichrist controls them, the military. That's why they suppress everything from you and the truth about Sasquatch being your ancestors. You see, some people escaped all this and they always go off the grid. So it's important to understand the Australian Aboriginals went to the Promised Land, and it's the oldest and wisest civilization in the whole world, and your DNA is coded into theirs. You come from the Australian Aboriginals, no matter what you believe. No matter what you choose to believe, they're the oldest, wisest civilization in the world that was sent to the Promised Land in the Great Reset after Atlantis, many, many moons ago. Many years ago, there has been 5 catalysm events where the Western civilization has been wiped out, and they know about all of them without any books or education. But they went back to the Promised Land and lived of the tree of life, never to go back of the tree of knowledge. They made that choice, and the Min light, the divine light's been with them for thousands of years. And they protect them the most. Now, I'll go into a lot of details about that. I went out there to see the oldest, wisest civilization, and I was chosen by God himself through the Min light, the divine light. 90% of you don't believe in it because you're going to get stuck up your ass. Let me explain something to you. When the light came to me, I wrote 3 official letters about what God was going to do to the AI world. In 6 international events with the highest sophisticated security system in the world, all fully recorded with evidence. And God created that threat. And God created not only that, but he brought that threat through with evidence, rock solid evidence, and most powerful confirmation recorded on their documents. 6 international events where God put into a glitch like that. I've got into all the details about this. He also put the nuclear warheads, NSA, and the whole sophisticated security system in the glitch for 10 days. Now, the power of God put the AI world in, and the ID220 program, and the most sophisticated security system AI world, right? AI, everything, nuclear warheads, military, the whole 9 yards, in a glitch for 10 days. Recorded with evidence. The most powerful evidence ever created in modern history. Now, if God gives me the power to do these things, and you don't believe in me, I want to tell you something, right? Believe me, if you understand the power behind me, and the power that God created with the most powerful confirmation on earth by the biggest think tank in the world, if you don't believe in that, you know who your forefathers are? Because I'm going to be your worst enemy. I'm going to be the one that's going to make sure that you get wiped out on this planet with the rest of the Freemasons and your forefathers. And you don't believe in that? I know the future. You don't. I know your future if you don't get out of this mindset that you live in and go back to your instinctive behavior and resurrect humanity back in the primal state. Instinctively, to be in that image, to be in the image I'm in, to be in the image Jesus is in. You're created to be in his image, and he said the kingdom's your church, not the church. It's controlled by Baal. He said live by the vineyard rule equally, to govern life equally, to love one another and be on his burdens. Do you live by that? Because the Sasquatch do the most. The Sasquatch is our ancestors that are the oldest civilization that lives by those tools the most, and so does the Australian Aborigines, and so does 5 other indigenous civilizations that live to be over 150 years old and don't suffer any mental disorders or gene defects like you do. They don't think psychologically and mentally with a high IQ, but you do, because you follow your forefathers' footsteps and you love this world. But can you get out there and fend for yourself and walk in the mountains for 40 days and 40 nights without food? No, you couldn't. You couldn't even fend for yourself for 5 minutes. That's a fact, right? You don't have any of the ability to levitate stones and to resurrect and resurrect others or heal people or heal yourself. You can't even do that. Yet I teach these things. So let me tell you something. The whole world's in post-human states now, suffering the human condition, and they lie about it and take drugs to numb themselves and live in a bubble in their own truth. And that's a fact. Recorded in the biggest documents in the world by the biggest biologists in the whole world, hailed by every top scholar to be the top elite person in the world in the moment you're in, that can think instinctively with this natural organic motor skills. And there's only a few masterminds here that can master the mind. And those that master mind have an outside influence in our reality, no voices in their mind, because we master the gnostic web. You don't. You're tangled in the web and you're confused and frustrated non-stop. And then you lie all the time. Right? And you accuse people what you're guilty of all the time. And then you oppress them and cause them to stumble because you're a stumbler and you're a weak spine and scout and your spine don't work. God lets you mild creatures all over the earth. You follow your forefathers' footsteps and you love this world and you're going into a reincarnation trap and you're going to get stuck there for 1,000 years because you've always been stuck in it. That's what you don't understand. Nobody ever dies. The biggest deception ever created in human history is for you to believe in that. It's not about flesh and blood. It's about principality and power, and you don't have any. Because your principality is not in the right place. So you lost your power. It's all negative fields. Light, power, deceiving, and demonic. Where you create endorphins and dopamines with the psychedelic effect with a high IQ. Not a meth effect. Your molecules die between 7 and 15, and I can prove that in any DNA test. You cannot create the meth effect, the adrenochrome, with 2 molecules in mortality that prepares your genes down the immune system, and graphene oxide serum that makes your body cells conduct to the most positive power and energy. You don't even create that anymore because you can't create the Christ oil, because you can't create your gut feeling survival mode and the shiver in your spine to be alert, alive, waking, aware with that meth effect. So you have an outside influence with a whole different perception of life. With an outside influence in your reality, that changes everything in the circumstances. Your mind oppresses you from that. They saw it in the looking glass. They know what's going to happen. Today, a lot of military people, right, are trying to help people with DNA, right, with helping fix their DNA and molecules. ES systems, Unifed, all these platforms, okay, some people are trying to help you. But they don't know any better themselves. They think they do because they're programmed. Most of them are hybrids and programmed from the day they come in this world. They've got no idea who they are neither. They just believe in whatever they're told. But they're engineered for this. A lot of people are engineered through psyop programs by hybrids and clones by the military. And there's plenty of those people here today that are inverted and uses their forefathers' footsteps, and they even nominate that. Ismail Perez is one of them. And the people coming there, they're going to unlock the progenitor genes and resurrect Zeus and Inla. They're even telling it to your face. Right? So a lot of people are completely oblivious to all these things. Right? See, that's a problem. You are very oblivious. But you see, you're stuck in a tangled web called the gnostic web of blue and red. And you think with the blue pill non-stop, which is a high IQ. Right? That's a blue pill. It's called 5 senses negative fields. Blue wire is negativity. Red wire is red hot. Blue is ice cold. Red wire is red hot. Red hot is to think with your instincts, to think with your heart, with your intuition. With 8 progenic tools of righteousness. That's all you need. They're the higher frequencies from the 6th dimension upwards when you use your 6th sense. The most positive is that gives you the power in your primal state to think instinctively and to resurrect like Jesus could and more. And when you have that power, you break free from amnesia and you discover who you are when you become a mastermind, and you master your mind, and your mind no longer masters you, and no more voices in your mind that controls you and limits you. Right now, the whole world is suffering the human condition as warned in Revelation. Every person will be deceived except for the elect, and no one believes in it. No one believes in it. They don't believe in the document since 1999 that everyone's in post-human states neither. Oh, no, not me, I'm awake. So they keep feeding the same system and keep entertaining the same stuff and consume even more and more information and think they know better every day with the same IQ and fall into new deception and new theories all over the world. But they cannot do what I can do. They cannot go back to their primal state like Jesus and do the things that he can and more because they don't even have faith in it. They don't even have faith in their own biological genes or their own natural organic motor skills. And that's why the whole world's going into massive extinction, the sixth mass extinction, being stripped from the sixth sense. And they don't know who they are, and they never will know, because they're in brain-locked denial, beyond the point of return. So, you've got to understand how it goes, because even the scholars for the religions field says that 93% of all the religious people are polarized the same way in amnesia. Nobody's been reborn for years. No one even understands the context anymore. They know what born again is, but they have no understanding what reborn is. Being reborn is breaking free from amnesia, becoming a gnostic mastermind, and mastering your mind so your mind no longer masters you. And then you discover who you are. That's sticking your head through the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel. When you stick your head through it, you look back in and realize, my God, I have amnesia. And now I realize that nobody else in the whole world knows any better. That's why Jesus said that to everybody, right? When he was being slayed on the cross, when he was being whipped by whips, right? And the thorns put around his head, when they absolutely punished him to the maximum, he kept on saying non-stop, Father, forgive them, for they do not know any better. Because everyone's psychologically mental and people love to hurt people. Your voice hurts your DNA. I've given you the evidence about that with a plate of water. You talk nice to a plate of water and talk evil to another plate, put them in a fridge overnight and take a look at the molecules in the morning. Your DNA looks the same as the one you look ugly and you talk ugly to. Go and get a test done. All your DNA is ugly with the molecules going corruption, corrosion, collusion, because you live in negative fields, and that can be proven in your blood cells when you get a DNA test. Because your water, when you talk ugly to it and put it in the freezer overnight and pull it out in the morning, that's what your body cells look like, exactly like that. Ugly, and work against each other. When you talk really beautiful to a plate of water and put it in the freezer overnight and take a look at it in the morning, that's what your body cells are supposed to look like. Beautiful and working together with light, powerful light. So your voice, right, damages every person's DNA in the world, because you're 75% water, and water has a molecule of graphene oxide that has a personality. You can see that when you talk to water, it has a personality and it has feelings when you talk to it. So your body cells has feelings from everybody's voice and all their words. And we don't have a universal language. We use psychological behavior, right? Psychological behavior, because it hurts our DNA. But when we think outside the mind with a universal language, mental telepathy, it repairs our genes. So thinking instinctively by going walkabout repairs your genes. And your body cells work together perfectly. And 75% of your body's water with graphene oxide that has the personality to conduct with. So what are you conducting to? Huh? What are you entertained by in the delusion you live in, or the bubble you live in where you create endowment effects non-stop through psycho programs, through televisions, through modern gadgets? And who do you believe in today with all the new psycho programs and new belief system with the fifth dimension downwards? Galaxy Federation, that's the fallen angels. That's the fallen angels. Light, power, and deceiving and demonic. That's what you believe in. You don't believe in the 8 rules of righteousness. You don't talk about love and compassion. You don't talk about Jesus Christ and being in that image. You don't talk about being in God's image. You talk about being in your forefather's image. And now most of you fall in your forefather's image. And I'm just warning you right now, they saw the future and they know that over 90% of the Western civilization is going into massive extinction and going into a time trap. You see, the Freemasons always done this. They always knew who they were from generation to generation, because they confuse you to use you as a slave environment while they make money on you. That's the way they run the show. That's the way they run the whole fucking world, is to create the reincarnation trap and to keep you reincarnated. Or to get you under the quantum computer with different fields and thinking differently, so the voice in your mind can always control you forever and ever and ever and get stuck here forever just like they are. That's what they're looking for. That's their ultimate plan. Those that think outside the mind, thinks outside the mind with the higher dimensions, the higher heavens, where you go into a new timeline where time stands still, life preserves, and everything becomes perfect. No more pain, stress, and fear. Where you go back to the image you're created in, and that image is Jesus Christ to do those extraordinary things and more when you think outside the mind. They know the end. And Time Traveler 227 is exactly where I've been. I've been into the new timeline, and only a few of us go there. Trust me on that. Trust me, a lot of people know this and are saying this. There's only a few of us here that's going to be saved, and it might only be 100 million out of 8 billion. Trust me on this. Everybody in the world's failing. The ones that's going to win this battle are the people from the streets. People in and out of prison on drugs, using their sixth sense. The indigenous people that's off the grid. Everybody's an outlaw off the grid. Not a law-abiding citizen that that pertains to Babylon's law and parliamentary crime and law. Nobody follows that. We're outlaws. We stand against that shit. We live by the laws of life like the indigenous people do, that everybody hates so much. And they say they love them, but they lie. They're liars. They're the most spiritual human beings in the world that lives to be the oldest and don't suffer any mental disorders. And then you think you're spiritual. You have another spirit with more power, but it fucks your genes, doesn't it? And it makes you suffer the consequences, doesn't it? Because you don't live at the tree of life, you live at the tree of knowledge. Those are facts. You follow your forefathers' footsteps because most of you Babylonian beasts and most of you are Netherlands. You want to know the truth? Then wake up to it, because it's your last opportunity. Some of us are going to live to be 1,000 years of the tree of life in that image that Jesus created us in, God created us in. The rest of you is going to wish you were dead for 1,000 years because nobody dies. That evidence was proven in 1999. I've gone into a lot of details where God created the most powerful evidence on earth to prove that 95% of the civilization in 1990 was lost and in a reincarnation trap they don't even believe in. They don't even believe in themselves or nothing about themselves. But every time they're reborn, they don't know who they are. That's why they're programmed into school and don't become a mastermind by 24, so they never know who they are. They just think they do all the time. The greatest deception ever created in human history is for you to be programmed like this and engineered to be in a reincarnation trap, and you're about to go into it for 1,000 years, and you're going to wish you were dead because you didn't listen to me. Those people don't listen to me. It's recorded in the Bible, will surely be devoured, because I'm the only person in the world that comes with the resurrection of humanity, and you're warned about that. That only the elect will not be deceived, and only the witness will come with the resurrection of humanity, and I don't see anybody else doing it, because in fact, no one even believes in it. That's why they're in psyop programs and beyond the point of return. In brain lock denial, Satan possesses nearly every person in the world, and they choose to do that. They give consent to this, and therefore their own consent becomes their own judgment in this time that you're in. Some of us go into timeline 227 where everything becomes perfect, no more pain, stress and fear, while the whole rest of the world goes into another dimension. 2 different dimensions will split here, and I can guarantee you that this isn't negotiable, right? They saw it in the looking glass. 212, everything's going to go in a catalysm event, and most people's going to go with that. And that's a fact, because that's a choice you make, and you're too afraid, and you haven't got a spine. Your spine is cowards. You don't have any interest in going back to primal state, and it takes 7 years to master your mind. It takes serious dedication. Very serious. Practice what I preach, and you'll learn what people learn around me, who breaks free from amnesia and discover who they are. It's the most beautiful liberation you will ever come across. You will never be afraid of death ever again, because you go in a new timeline where time stands still, life preserves, and everything becomes perfect. No more pain, stress, and fear. Could you imagine being in a time where time stands still, life preserves, and everything becomes perfect? No pain, no stress, no fear. That's timeline 227. No pain, no stress, and fear, no radio waves, 200 frequencies of the fallen angels gone. Gone, everything gone. Everything in this world is alchemized, and the only thing that says people like you and I. Mild, compassionate creatures that uses the 8 tools of righteousness. Loyalty, honor, respect, moral, inspiration, encouragement. And you know what? I'll tell you the vision they saw in the looking glass. They saw a person standing there, which is the person in the RSVP list, the super mind, the super mastermind. They saw that person standing there. They saw that person standing with a whole heap of people behind him. I saw that vision myself, and I am that person. You may not believe that. Trust me, a lot of people have come here from visions and dreams, 16,000 people, and they saw me in that vision. That's why they're here. That's why there's 16,000 people right here through visions and dreams. 2,000 pastors and priests, they all had the same vision, the same dream, and they saw them standing in a place called the kingdom, the promised land, looking back at the kingdom that's destroyed and gone, and me standing there leading them and guiding them. You may not believe that. That's entirely up to you. Believe me, I've been into that timeline, and I've seen all the people that follow me. All the people that follow me in this timeline. Okay? And I'm warning you, they know what the timeline is. They know who the person is. And that's what's representing Keanu Reeves. The one with the outside influence of their reality. That has 7 times more positive power than any. I'm recording the RSVP list. They know who I am. I'm the one that created the most powerful evidence ever created in modern history and put their nuclear warheads and their whole system in a glitch. No one else ever has. I'm the only one that comes with that evidence. So I suggest you follow me and follow the footsteps of your forefather's footsteps, who is your father, your real father, the way you're created in God's image, and that image is to be like Jesus Christ. That's the image you're created in. Now, if you don't have faith in that, you're fucked in the story. You can pick whatever you want, but right now you don't want to get this wrong, because believe me, what's about to unfold in this world is going to be beyond understanding. A lot of people see visions and dreams about what's coming, but if you can understand something, if God can put the whole system in a glitch for 10 days and that kind of power, then trust me, anything in this world is possible. Anything that's beyond your understanding. And I'm just here to give you a message. What you choose to do with it, it's entirely up to you. But I'm warning you, this is your end time warning. 2:27, if you don't have your priorities right by that time, you're going to pay the consequences. Trust me on that. I'm here to save your ass from yourself and save you from the voice in your skull. Because you're possessed by the devil, and if you don't believe in that, you'll never escape free from it. The first thing you have to do is not live in denial about it. Live in admittance, right? Repent and turn around and go and back to the way you really were and the way you were created in God's image. And believe me, the liberation is insane, right? The gift that you have of life here is incredible. When you understand everything organically, naturally, with your natural organic motor skills and nothing less.